And welcome back to the final series of day number 1. Here we are on Tal'Darim Altar. And let's see if NightEnD is able to get past the unfortunate situation which happened with the disconnect in game number 1. He's spawning in the bottom right as the red Protoss with his nice little Prae tag on there. Meanwhile, in the top left, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the Emperor, Slayer's Boxer as the blue Terran. And the first thing I want to point out here is that we have extreme cross positions. If you follow me from Boxer's main base, and oh, he's hotkeyed his command center 1 through 0. That's kind of cute. All the way through his natural, through his third base, all the way through the center of the map. That is a long, long rush distance. So
yeah,
you see a style similar.
Probably even took you multiple mouse swipes just to get there, man. You must be exhausted showing that distance.
Yeah, I am exhausted. Mentally and physically from going through that path. We see Boxer actually sending out a very early SCV, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility to see him drop a barracks in the middle of the map.
And oh my goodness, it looks like Boxer playing off that disconnect that he got in game 1, where he seems so anti-cheese, now going to open up with a little bit of cheese himself. Real question in my eyes, is he going to get a gas geyser? He is. He might be going for a very, very fast Marauder rush play. It's not something that we've seen in a long time, but the fast Marauder with concussive shell, a very potent way to deny a Protoss a couple of units at the start of the game.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what he's going to do. And because of the long rush distance, as we just said, this is something that you know, it's not in the back of your mind as even a possibility, because who would really do this on a map this large? You don't expect to be rushed. You expect people to sit back, play kind of those macro games, and we see the barracks finishing the timing a little bit off. He's going to get that tech lab as he crosses the 25 Vespene Geyser threshold. Now bringing out another SCV to begin scouting.
Now this is always going to be oh my goodness, he's getting another barracks there. It looks like he is going to try to rely on the size of this map, the amount of time it takes to scout you and your opponent, to allow him to get this little bit of leeway, because this is going to be a very uncomfortable position for NightEnD as he moves into the base. He's going to see absolutely nothing, but that gas geyser is going to make him feel very, very suspect.
First Zealot is going to come out for NightEnD. His cybernetic score about to finish. Let's see what he uses his chrono boost on. He's got a lot of chrono boost. Looks like he's using the first one on the gateway. Is he going to drop the second one on warp gate? That is key. If he doesn't feel comfortable, he may want to drop that on the gateway and not drop it on the warp gate research. And it looks like that's what he's precisely doing. He's got that first Zealot out. Meanwhile, Boxer, second tech lab, getting concussive shells. So this doesn't appear to be any sort of quick rush, but just, you know, make a bunch of units in a suspect location and hope they're not ready.
This actually makes me feel very nervous for Boxer, because, I mean, NightEnD, though he had a very, very bumpy opening at the start of last game, is a solid player. In my eyes, he's going to be able to hold this off without too much of a problem. And at that point, those two barracks at the middle of the map that were suddenly a nice little advantage are now a huge liability. Those are two potential free barracks for NightEnD to pick off.
And here we go, the two Marauders running right in, going to use their concussive shells to slow down that first Zealot, getting 2 hits on him. Looks like NightEnD is chrono boosting out that, he's actually chrono boosting out Warp Gate, not working on the Stalker. So the second Stalker going to join the battle here. It's now out, getting tagged by the Marauders. Shields immediately down. NightEnD forced to pull probes here. And Boxer is actually getting a lot of value out of these few Marauders, dancing back and forth, now in a full retreat, just causing some damage in the form of lost mining time as he tries to run. And NightEnD trying to get the surround. Looks like he's gotten around one Marauder. One Marauder goes down.
That was very close. Oh, even some more stray probes getting lost. Looks like that will get one-shotted by that pack of Marauders. But, I mean, this could be a potentially very, very easy win for Boxer, who has 5 Marauders against just 3 Stalkers and 1 Zealot. But keep in mind that Boxer is very low on the SCD count.
Yeah, and with Stim only just started, he's not going to have that for a while. NightEnD looking to move out. Is he going to pull his probes yet again? Yes, he is. That warp gate almost getting taken down. It's only at 140 HP there, but it does manage to live. A lot of idle probes here being forced to be pulled off so he can move forward. And looks like the Stalkers and probes are going to be able to repel these Marauders. Without Stim, they're just so clunky that the Stalkers are able to chase him down and deal a lot of free hits here.
And it looks like, wow, this is a very aggressive push. This could be huge. Does NightEnD know about the barracks in the middle? He does not. But he does know that he needs to push back hard. These probes are doing massive amounts of damage. And now the Zealot coming in. Brilliant decision making right there by NightEnD. And all of a sudden, Boxer's 2 barracks in the center of the map. Will they get spotted? And there it is. NightEnD sees the vulnerability.
You know, I wish NightEnD would just run past and just make a beeline towards Boxer's base. In his main base, he has 1 Marauder, but he's going to go for the Tech Labs, actually. And he's going to cancel Stim, which is going to be a pretty big deal, but that's going to buy Boxer a lot of time as he just lifts off the barracks and begins to float them back home. I think he's going to be safe, and I think NightEnD lost a bit of an opportunity there to just move in and deal a lot more damage, but the Stalker's still getting a lot of free shots on the Marauders. And let's see how NightEnD transitions out of this. He's got 3 Warp Gates and just making an Observer out of his Robotics.
Wow, very, very calm play there. By NightEnD, we see Boxer having 2 more barracks in his main. That means with these other 2, he will likely be at 4. Unless some of them die. Because note that 2 plus 2 is oftentimes 4, chill. We do see that the Stalkers and Zealots are now retreating back to that Nexus. And again, I love that NightEnD opts for that very early Observer. It's so easy for the eyes to get big, to try to slam out Chrono Boosted Immortal, but the Observer is what lets you have control, lets you have calm.
And NightEnD taking that expansion. He's not getting too greedy. He knows Boxer in a very defensive stance here. It's probably possible that he could put down a 3rd Nexus and be fine, but he's not going to risk it. As you said, he's still controlling the Xel'Naga Watchtower, so he's aware of any sort of attacks that are headed his way until the Observer gets over to the main base of Boxer. Meanwhile, Boxer did safely unite Barracks 2 and 2 together to make 4. You are indeed correct, as we see this expansion command center turning into an orbital, and yet again, when Boxer feels completely safe, he'll float that out down to his natural expansion.
Boxer going for that relatively fast factory, but don't know if he really has the gas to be able to support that quite yet. We do see the starport going down. No reactor on that factory. Yes, indeed, there's a reactor going down, but I think this is way early for Boxer. He will not have anywhere near enough resources to support all these barracks, the upgrades he needs, and most importantly, those medevacs. So NightEnD getting his 3rd Geyser, getting the Robo Bay for the Colossus out. NightEnD finally getting back into his groove.
Yeah, NightEnD looking very strong. Meanwhile, the supplies, 63 for NightEnD, 48 for Boxer. Let's go ahead and take a look at the income tab. Boxer suffered early game as he cut a lot of SCVs to perform that initial rush. He's down at 31. Meanwhile, NightEnD, with his natural expansion now complete and chrono boosting probes out, is at 39 harvesters there in the form of probes. Get out a few sentries, largely Zealot army here with a few Stalkers, and that's, you need to get those Zealots in there to cut gas to get your first Colossus out, just until you get both natural assimilators really rolling, start getting the gas out of there to the point where you don't need it for gateway units anymore. Then you can start working on that extended thermal lance and really churning out a lot of those Colossi.
I mean, I really, really love this play by Boxer to get that very fast starport and then to get the Vikings instead. I mean, you and I were constantly talking about those medevacs, but you know what? Like, rushing for those Vikings, cheap on the gas, high on the minerals, that's what Boxer had. And now he's going to be able to be aggressive and poke a little bit and prod with those Vikings, but he needs to be just a little bit careful if his opponent is not going for the Colossus. So let's go ahead and get a little vision check for Boxer. Wow, Boxer actually getting those Vikings blindly.
Wow. I guess he did see the robotics in the form of the Observer. So just making an educated guess that he's not going to transition into any sort of Blink play or any sort of Templar play. I'm really watching to see who's going to be the first player to take the 4th base. You know, if I was in NightEnd's position, I would feel a little bit more comfortable than if I was in Boxer's position. And we can see NightEnd staying true to what worked in game number 1, or what he intended to work. He's dropping those dual Stargates yet again before a 3rd base. So, going again with the Colossus Phoenix.
Yeah, Colossus Phoenix is quite strong, but as we saw in that last game, Boxer managed to plant some amazing EMPs, thereby negating those Phoenixes. I mean, the Phoenixes cleared everything out. There were about 14 of them still left at the end of the battle, but there could be no lifting done on those Marauders. That's really the big key to those Phoenixes. If the exact trade happens and you have energy, Protoss comes out on top, but 1 EMP ruins the day.
Taking a look at the supplies yet again. Now, medevacs coming out for Boxer. We've got 94 supply for Boxer, NightEnd sitting at 113, got enough minerals to take another expansion, but looks like he's just not quite comfortable with taking his expansion yet. And 2 seconds later he is, as he drops that Nexus just in time for the SCV to stroll on by and see that the third base is going up. So Boxer well aware of that timing. And again, look at this observer. Look at the path that's been queued up for it as it flies around the entire map again and again. I really have to point that out because that's something a lot of players miss, and it's so strong to just have this observer roaming around the map, giving you complete information all game.
Now, I do love that really active observer. I mean, I so often see a player just put it at the front and is like, that's where he belongs. I wanted a Xel'Naga watchtower there, but I couldn't, so I put an observer. But that is absolutely true. That active scouting, and NightEnd's not even on patrol. He is actively sending it around. And even this unit placement by NightEnd, holding back to this choke, keeping the Colossi at the neck, and then the Phoenixes at the left to deal with drops. Looks a little disorganized, but is in fact very well thought out.
And here comes a little bit of harassment for Boxer. He's going to be able to take out the system litter very quickly as he puts up that Viking flower to deal with any sort of Colossus that come in to deal with that army, but looks like there are none. Is Boxer going to load up? He has that available to him, but looks like he does not choose to act that option. Supply is 136 for Boxer and 143 for NightEnd. You know, I would not be surprised if they just sat back until they got to 200 yet again, got their upgrades up, and then, you know, just clap like two hands in the center of the map into each other.
That is a little bit weaker on larger maps. On a small map where no one can really get more bases, let's take the obvious one, Steps of War, where you essentially just get 3 bases. 200 food pushing, not a big problem. But on a map like this, the player who's expanding more, taking a little more space, he can have a weaker maxed army, because if he loses it, he can replenish it, win on the second wave, and now it's suddenly 5 bases versus 3 bases. So I do think NightEnd is going to again have a little bit stronger of an overall mix, but it's going to be upgrades and expanding that really decides the winner.
And another factor here, take a look at the income tab. Boxer is down by about 20 workers, which is surprising, and he's actually not making any more SCVs, relying heavily on mules. Now he's making SCVs out of his third base, but that means when they actually come to battle, his actual army is going to be 20 supply stronger than NightEnd's if they actually go to 200.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because you get maxed a little bit more easily in StarCraft 2, managing your worker count is so critical. You don't end up with players bouncing between 130 and 180 like in StarCraft 1. No, it's maxed a lot in this game. So that is a critical thing to note.
Take a look how NightEnd is following this up, continuing with his upgrades. He has +1 attack, I believe, and now working on armor. Is there a... No, he doesn't have... any ability to get +1 as he's lacking the Twilight Council, but just continuing with Phoenix and Colossi production. Meanwhile, Boxer feels comfortable to just stroll around in the middle of the map. The only thing of interest to point out, NightEnd trying to take a 4th base first. He's taking that 3 o'clock, and when you have a largely maxed army, as NightEnd does, towards 180, not a bad idea to just invest your money in cannons and gateways so you can remax quickly, and so you can defend the harassment easily.
I would also even love it if NightEnd began transitioning up a little bit more. We're seeing Boxer begin to transition by getting those ghosts. We see the armories obviously going down to help him get more upgrades. Boxer, though, I would love to see transition into some kind of mech unit later on in the game. We've seen in other Terran vs. Protosses, the Thor is quite a potent late-game unit to incorporate into that mix because of how well it can take damage. Also, NightEnd taking his 4th base, cannoning it up. Both players still sitting very passively, and it looks like NightEnd going to be the first player to make the move.
And you know, as you pointed out, Thor is also very nice to deal with clumped up Phoenixes, especially you get a good EMP on them, target them on that clump of Phoenixes, can deal a huge amount of damage. And here we go, NightEnd getting a little bit restless, moving to the middle of the map where Boxer is positioned. Boxer sitting at 198, NightEnd at 197, advantage Boxer.
We do see a lot of gateways going down in NightEnd's main. He has 10 total. There's the Twilight Council getting constructed as well to help him get more upgrades. Needs to begin getting more forges, upgrades, and expanding, and tech. That is what will help keep you alive in the later stages of the game. Very nice scan, picking off that Xel'Naga Watchtower unit. But as you said, Chill, that Observer now very smartly planted in the center of the map.
Boxer up to 7 barracks, and looks like he has no interest of doing anything else. And he's actually upgrading his vehicle plating and his vehicle weapons level 1, so he may make the
I'm
transition
excited.
over into factory units. It is a possibility. Boxer also with a 4th base at the 12 o'clock. Both players look content to sit just in the center of the map.
And look at this, the Gravatic Boosters upgrade going down at the Robotics Bay. That is the speed movement for the observers. I love that a lot. That is a very, very fun upgrade. Let him poke a little bit more, and because I mean, look at NightEnD, just barely out of range of all those Vikings in the middle of the map, and that observer is going to be essential for spotting, and even more command centers going down for Boxer on the left, so that way he can mass mule and sack even more SCVs.
And you may not be able to see it, but in this big ball of Terran units in the middle, there are actually 4 ghosts, and each of them have 200 energy built up. So that's 8 EMPs possible if he manages to hit with all of them. And that's a big problem for NightEnD. Meanwhile, looks like he's beginning to kill his Zealots as he has completed the Templar Archives.
Wow.
He's trying to transition into Storm. So once you get maxed, you sometimes need to kill off the weaker units to substitute in stronger units. And looks like in substitute, indeed, he is doing, warping in 8 High Templar to unite them into his main army.
Gosh, that is going to be very difficult for Boxer to deal with unless he gets those perfect EMPs off.
Right.
This is the one issue with NightEnd's army. The Phoenixes can float on top of everything. The Colossi can stand on top of the gateway units. Things get clustered. The EMPs are much stronger against that mix. We do see the 1-1 upgrades for Metal have finished for Boxer. His infantry are still chilling at 1-1, and there are more orbital commands going down. Boxer has not really massed factories. We do see 4 on the left flank, though.
Wow, that's pretty surprising. We've got Boxer moving in with a medevac drop, actually. 2 medevacs loaded up with largely Marauders, few Marines in there. Why not? Dropping in. Looks like he's going to drop just 1 Marauder to deal with the probe at the 6 o'clock. Now he's going to move into the main base. And the thing here is NightEnD is completely maxed, so he's completely unable to warp in any other units to deal with this drop harassment.
Oh, but look at those
But
Phoenixes.
he can do that.
One of the great advantages of Phoenixes is the fact that you can just easily dart in at any time and lift them up. Not a big deal. Did lose that key forge, though, so that is going to be quite a pain for NightEnD.
Meanwhile, the Marauder at 6 o'clock still going to work, trying to take down that assimilator. That's just a little bit annoying for NightEnD, and yet again, he cannot warp in any units. Meanwhile, Boxer has a stimmed army moving to 3 o'clock. All he's got to take down is these 3 photon cannons or the pylon, and then go to work on the Nexus. NightEnD is equal to the task, moving in very quickly to try to deal with this. He's trying to focus down the Nexus. Oh my god, the Phoenix is flying, lifting everything up. The Nexus is still taking damage, but it does get saved with 93 HP.
I mean, very, very nice use of those Phoenixes to be able to pick that off just in time. I cannot emphasize enough how that lift is helpful, that Graviton beam. But look at this left expansion, Chill. He has 11 mules. That is a ton. That is huge thanks to those 2 orbital commands that are at the left. And there we see the 4 Thors coming out right now for Boxer. We don't see any more metal upgrades quite yet, but those little tiny drops from Boxer, not so much harassment as they were him trying to free up food to be able to get those beastly units. In the unit counting station, we see not that many Marauders and Marines, but a lot of Vikings and a lot of metal coming out.
And a big potential engagement going on in the middle of the map. Looks like neither player wants to commit. And as you said, Boxer flying this yet again for a bit of harassment for Marauders in a medevac moving towards the southern expansion, trying to drop and do a little bit of harassment there. But there's a few stalkers, a few photon cannons to deal with that. NightEnD now getting aggressive, taking control of the middle of the map. Some ghosts coming forward.
Drop at the top
now
right,
running
drop
away.
at the top right. It looks like the right expansion is getting target fired, and Boxer was going to be able to take it down. And there's the engagement in the center. Some big storms go off. Couple EMPs down as well, but we're hearing some ghosts die in that fray, and NightEnD with a clearly superior angle, just murdering everything in that mix. The Thors fall, and Boxer's waiting around to get the right mix of units. Just could not face this torrent of units from
It really came
NightEnD.
down to the EMPs, which just did not hit like in game 1. You want to know the supplies? 172 for NightEnD, 129 for Slayer's Boxer. EMP yet again misses, trying to hit the Phoenixes, hitting none of them actually. And now a blink forward, taking out the majority of Boxer's army. And I don't know what Boxer can do. He's going to lose control of his production facilities. He's going to die with about 2k in the bank. Completely unfortunate, but That's what happens when you play the game of 200 versus 200. When you don't win the engagement, you just can't remax quickly enough to deal with the follow-up counterattack.
A big chunk of Thors spawning at the left side, but will it be enough? There's 4 Vikings and a ton of Stalkers. Look at the Stalker count chill just streaming in. Boxer decides it's time to pull back, and it looks like all those barracks are going to fall down. Boxer trying to rebuild, but NightEnD has a ton of warp gates right now, so he can continually reinforce. There are the Thors at the back trying to pick off a couple of units, but and there's the blink.
Wow. That many Colossi really cutting down the Thors. Big storm going down on all the Marauders. Oh my god, completely cleaned up almost instantly. Boxer falling way down to 121 supply. NightEnD has rebuilt the Nexus at 3 o'clock. He's mining at the 6 o'clock. He's moving into Boxer's third base, taking down those Thors almost immediately when they don't have that ring of SCVs all around them. Not as strong as they could be. Vikings spawning to their doom, and it really, really looks extremely good for NightEnD here in game number 2.
NightEnD is doing, again, the Boa Constrictor style play, expanding again in the top right. Having the slow trickle of units into Boxer's base. Not going to split up, do anything too overeager. Just going to play it calm and safe. More Marauders and Marines popping out. We do see that the 2-2 upgrade's done for the infantry, and the metal 2-2 is almost done as well. But it is just not even going to be able to get used, as all those factories are finally dead.
Boxer trying to remake 5 factories at 12 o'clock to get back into this game. Looks like he's not done playing. He's actually got 3k, 2.5k, but he's going to lose his base, which is the main problem here. He's going to lose all his production facilities, going to lose the potential to make Thors when he loses the armory, or he's not going to lose any of it, because it looks like NightEnD does not want to kill the main. He wants to kill the expansion, moves in, all the factories get cancelled, and that really limits Boxer's options, as if he had many options.
I just love this play by NightEnD. He is just snaking around the map, killing off expansions. He has no worry at all about trying to move into the main. He just wants to make sure that there's no more income coming in for Boxer, and there goes down the planetary fortress. NightEnD just cleaning that up. And keep in mind, if a disconnect happens right now, Boxer will be awarded the win. No, I'm just kidding. Like, this is a very, very good position for NightEnD. Really almost unstoppable at this point in time.
Looks like Boxer is going for the mass expand style. He's taking, oh my god, he's building his 5 factories down at the 7 o'clock now, trying to take the natural position down there as well. Meanwhile, NightEnD stomping around in the middle of the map. NightEnD actually doing well to spend all his minerals way down below what Boxer's minerals are at. He's got so many stalkers that he can just afford to blink forward and deal with the infantry of Boxer. Boxer is falling down to 64, 62. It's not looking good. 60.
Lower and lower it goes. The Storms and the Marauders getting picked off. This one single Marauder going to go out as a lone representative for Boxer, but the main now Boxer is one that's really suffering. 3-3 upgrades trying to go down in the armory. It gets picked off. All the barracks are under fire, but Boxer refuses to give up. Just wants to get all these factories pumping out Thors, convinced it is the one unit that will allow him to come back into the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much damage he's trying to imagine 5 Thors will do. We've seen them get completely cut up by these Colossi yet again, but you can't blame the guy for trying. More storms going down on Marauders in the main base as the barracks finally meet their demise. All the supply depots going to be taken out by NightEnD, and that's going to limit Boxer's ability to remake any units. He's now on just orbital command and planetary fortress supplies, which is actually pretty high, surprisingly. The main base completely carved out. The Thors are here, and let's see what Boxer can do with these.
He's managing to churn out a lot more. Thors get very strong when you have huge numbers of them. They become increasingly difficult to pierce into, especially the Blink Stalkers even get pulled apart. But it looks like Boxer immediately going to make an offensive at that bottom expansion. He knows that he still needs to try to keep his opponent down in the money front.
I wouldn't mind seeing him actually research the strike cannon just in case. I mean, we might as well. If it comes down to this, moving forward, just going to focus down the Nexus. I think if he saw the mini-map, he would know that's not going to be effective. And here comes NightEnD cutting off the retreat path, and he's going to be able to blink forward, take out take out Thor number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's got to be GG.
It does look like Boxer's trying to rebuild some more Thors. There are 5 more, and there's the blink and the Colossi at the back having a huge kill count. And there the Thors get cut down. Boxer no longer has any units, just workers at this point. And the good game, Boxer hung on till the bitter end, but now, similar to Thor's, NightEnD has one game away from being able to knock out another of the top Korean players, the legend of esports Slayers, Boxer. And the final map will be none other than Crevasse.
And this is really interesting because this is a map we haven't seen today and haven't seen in the TSL too much.
Yep, definitely love this map. Very funky, expanding structure. Very cool circular dynamic in the middle of the map. I do think that this will favor Boxer a little bit more as all those attack paths favor his micro-oriented attacking style. But as we've seen, NightEnD does love those Phoenixes. Phoenixes are essential for cutting down on all those possible attack paths.
And what I'm really interested to see here in game number 3 is we've seen the same game kind of repeat itself in game number 1 and 2 with different results, and it really came down to the EMP. So I'm wondering, even though we saw a different opening by Slayers Boxer and largely the same thing by NightEnD, we ended up in the same position in both games. So I'm wondering who's going to be the player that actually changes their style to fit their opponent, or are they both comfortable with these styles? Do they really think these are, the most solid styles that really fit them well, like their favorite sweater, and they're just going to go with them? Or is someone really going to play the game of playing the opponent and switch their style?
Well, I think that if anyone's going to be doing the change-up, it'll be Slayers Boxer, who did the goofy cheese in the middle of the map, inches from winning. But man, was that an impressive defense by NightEnD, who held on and pulled back into normalcy. So I think we're going to see NightEnD stick to his plan. He's finally getting in his groove. The nerves seem to have been shaken off.
Yes.
I don't know about you, Chill, but I'm ready to go directly into Game 3, the final game of the day from this TSL Round of 32, Day 1. I am Day 9. That is Chill. Don't go anywhere. We are casting the final match to see if Boxer can continue to stay in as the legend of esports, or if NightEnd's going to be like his teammate and knock out a Korean.